Welcome to the Au. I'm your host, Beefloaf. This show is being powered by From the 108 and FromThe108.com, where you can get all of our content top to bottom, blogs, podcasts, and videos, including the world-famous Sunday Soak. You can also get all of our merch there as well, including our infamous Wave Sucks and hashtag 108 in Garbs. In fact, right now, we actually have a pre-sale going on of our beautiful Wave Sucks zip-up hoodie. They're $45 and perfect for Chicago spring weather. Pre-sale ends tomorrow, so order them shits right away. This show is powered by you, the loyal 108 supporter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to tickle the undercarriage in the process. Like, comment, turn on notifications, and most definitely super chat. That's how we get paid. And keep making the brand of content that you know and love. Tonight's guest. Ooh, I love my bell so much. He is an original, an OG at Sports Mockery. Currently, he's the host of the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast, which combines White Sox talk with Cubs talk and live streams regularly at 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights on YouTube. He's White Sox Twitter's spiritual leader. That's why we call him Father. And he's an expert on vibes. Matt Zawaski, a.k.a. Father Zo, welcome to the Au, my friend.
Oh, I can stare at that picture all day, dude.
That picture, you tweeted it at some point,
Yeah.
and I screenshotted it and kept it on my phone just for a moment like this. But it's so funny. I've never used it in a meme or anything. Like, I wanted to meme you, but I'm like, wait, I'll just hold it until it's perfect timing. And tonight was absolutely fucking perfect time. How you been, my friend? We haven't talked on air. We've talked off air a bunch.
Yep.
Good to see you at 108 Day. How you doing, brother? What's up?
I'm doing really good. Had a little migraine thing a couple days ago, but everybody was real nice about the well wishes, and we're back. We're tip top again, and oh man, I'm just thinking of that day now when that picture was taken. I was on that WGN show, and my dad called me right after the show. He's like, "Did you drink before you went on there?" I go, "No, why?" He goes, "You were so red." And I was like, "No, that's just the lights." And thank you for my skin, dickhead. Like, you gave it to me. And yeah, it was. Oh man, that was a good time though. I missed that. What was it? WGN. I forgot the name of the show now, but it was fun. But that picture's hilarious. I got to dig that one up. That needs to be memed.
Yeah, a bunch of you guys were on that show over time. I saw Josh Nelson on that show. White Sox Dave, actually, he became famous for the gum shit. That was from that show as well. That's where Dave Portnoy saw him and was like, oh my God, this guy's an idiot. I need to have him on my roster. So, like, that's a pretty, like, low-key, that was a quiet show, but a lot of stuff went through there that you see in today's marketplace, which we're going to talk a lot about that in the second half of tonight's show. But before we get there, I want to get to a drink. Lil Yumper, thank you. He says, two of my fackin' favorites. So cheers, Yump.
I got the white wine because I couldn't get outclassed by beef. Oh, did I accidentally pick this glass?
Yeah, accidentally on purpose. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. You got some flight miles there as well, I assume.
Yeah.
Now, we'll get there. Yep. Now, one of the things I wanted to open up talking about, I wrote a blog not too long ago. It was on White Sox vibes. I was just thinking to myself, like, man, we've been buried in a lot of stuff, not much of it good, and I'm looking forward to the season regardless. And I was thinking, man, let me get my vibe thoughts together. I put the blog out there, and the fucking blog is not out there 2 hours, and you're replying to it. These are all the fucking things that are wrong with it. So, like, I know that you are the vibe master in White Sox Twitter. And I didn't consult you. I should have. I may be a Riz Lord, but I did not consult you on vibes like I should have. So, Father, so tell me how you became the man to go to for vibes.
So I think it's a combination of the day job, my upbringing, and Violet Myers.
Well,
yeah, and just
we appreciate it.
I don't know, like, and I guess the whole Father's Own thing, the spiritual side of things. So I'm a big vibe guy, always been that way. Part of my job is I got to read the room quick. All right, I sell shit for a living, so I got to get in there and I got to see right away: is this dude serious? Does this dude just want to bullshit? What do we got to do here to make this a done deal? I've been pretty successful in it, and I was a bartender in college down in Florida for a while, so and it's just I've just always been like I'm easy to get along with right away because I usually make a decision on a person within the first like 5 minutes. Like, I just pick up the vibe and I run with it, and so on our show, I talk about vibes all the time. Like, when they signed Josh Harrison, I was like, this is a great locker room vibe guy. Like, you pick up big smile, great guy. Or what's Bruhan Luke's guy, the outfielder that runs in the mud?
Billy Hamilton.
Billy Hamilton.
Huge vibe guy.
Huge guy. That's immaculate vibes off that guy. Yep. It just kind of keeps going, and I catch myself just drifting off into it a lot on the show. And it kind of, like most things, just grew legs. So, yeah.
Well, my apologies for not consulting you previously. So now what I have to do is take my medicine. We're going to talk through a couple of these vibes. You're probably going to rip me to shreds because I'm not admittedly a vibe guy. I'm an accountant. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't read people that well. I remember a lot of times I'm out with my Sox Summer and he'll tell me something about someone. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And then it will turn out to be true. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? I'm just not that guy, man. I'm an analytical dude, but I'm not, I don't got the vibe action like some of you guys out there. So I want to throw this up there. We're going to go, I put 5 different tiers. We're going to spend a little bit of time going through these guys. My first tier that I'm going to put up there on the screen for all the YouTubers, and I'll read them off for the people on the podcast feed, but definitely go to FromThe108.com and check out the Vibe Check article to begin with. I put this group as flavorless vibes, and my flavorless vibe people are Andrew Vaughn, Kendall Graveman, Garrett Crochet, and Reynaldo Lopez. Father Zoe, what say you?
All right, so I'm with you on Andrew Vaughn because the vibes I get off Andrew Vaughn is the guy that goes to a restaurant and it gets crowded like 2 minutes after he sits down and he like slaps the table and looks around and goes, "Boy, did we get here right on just in time."
Yeah.
That I've gotten with Andrew Vaughn.
Well, to Andrew Vaughn, he had the super generic country song. I'm not picking on country music, okay? You can have an awesome country music song. He had the super generic country song that led me to believe this man doesn't like music. And I was like, that is as flavorless as it can get. That was his walk-up music, that welcome to the show, whatever the hell that song was.
Yep. So I'm with you with the Vaughn. And, I mean, you got to get the vibe he needs this year is a fuck you, watch me vibe. Because, he's taking the place of a potential Hall of Famer, but an absolute legend on the South Side. So there's a lot of people doubting him, you, and he needs to kind of have like a fuck you, watch me vibe all year. Now, the other 3 on your list, Crochet and Graveman, you nailed those because those guys, I haven't seen any personality from them. I need to see a little fire, a little passion. Now, our guy that was on Pinwheels, and Fids is going to be pissed because I forgot the kid's name. It's one of Fids' guys. He got drafted by the Sox. He was down in Arizona with Crochet, and he keeps texting us like, "You guys watch out for Crochet."
Tanner McDougal, is that the guy?
McDougal. He's like, he's throwing absolute gas. Like, just watch out. But I've never seen any person. I mean, they're vanilla as it can be. It's just. And
with that gas, Zoe, like Crochet could have some mean vibes if he wanted to, as out there. Like that would be your closer,
I would love a Randy Johnson vibe off him.
Exactly.
I would love a Randy. Like, I'm just gonna gun this ball at your head if you fuck around. Like, I love it. And then I disagree with Raylo though.
Okay.
So Raylo has shady high vibes. So.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I feel like when you watch an interview with Raylo or like you kind of catch a quick camera when he's in the bullpen, he gets hyped. He gets hyped.
Yeah, I believe it. No.
And I feel like he's going to get a bigger role this year because unfortunately, the situation with Liam, I think Raylo's going to get a little crack at closing some games. And I think he's going to be that guy that gets the last out. You're going to maybe see a little glove slap, a little scream, not Liam level, but I think a little bit of Ray, and he's got the confidence now. He's got, he's not One Eye Willie anymore. He could see actual hand signs from the catcher.
Exactly.
So that still blows my mind that was ever a thing. You're a fucking professional. How did LASIK?
I can't see.
Yeah, I can't see.
It's absolutely unbelievable. The next group is my tough guy vibes. Okay, these are the guys that lead me to believe that they're very tough. And so that list for the podcast listeners is Jose Ruiz, Gavin Sheets, Joe Kelly, and Aaron Bummer. Zoe, where am I at here?
Out of those 4, the only one I think could beat me up is Ruiz. So right away, I'm disagreeing with the rest of the 3. All right, the rest of the 3. Ruiz seems like a guy that can throw hands. So I'll give you tough guy. He's like the quiet guy vibes. Like when you're at a bar and people are talking shit and there's that one dude sitting in the booth and you're like, watch that dude. And then the fight breaks out and he gets up and just demolishes someone. That's Ruiz to me.
Okay, so I get that exact same vibe off of him. I always tell my wife this all the time. I said, man, we know what other guy in the crowd or a couple other guys in the crowd you don't want to fight. It's not always a guy who's bigger than you. There's guys that are bigger than me I'm totally not afraid of. And then there's guys that are smaller than me. I'm like, I want nothing to do with that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And Ruiz is one of those guys I want nothing to do with that
No,
motherfucker.
nothing to do with that guy. And it's like when you're in a bar and you see people mouthing off and there's a little dude with cauliflower, you're like, I'm not going near him.
No, yeah, exactly.
My ankle's going to be behind my head in 6 different ways. I'm not going near that guy.
100%.
Gavin Sheets, I get like a teddy bear, like a country, like helpful idiot is probably pretty good too.
Say Jackie in the comments says no. Gavin Sheets says helpful idiot vibes.
I feel like he's like just like the aw shucks. That's a good one for Gavin. I give Gavin Sheets aw shucks vibes.
Now let me defend myself there. The reason why I put him there is because there was an altercation in one of the games. He grabbed and locked Jose Abreu and pulled him back. Now I would have thought the same thing. He is country strong, and that's what kind of made me a little nervous. But I see what you guys are saying there. Helpful idiots, yeah, that kind of, I feel that a little bit.
Oh, shucks. He's just a nice guy. There's nothing wrong with being, I'm a nice guy. There's nothing wrong with being a nice guy. He's a nice guy. But
that's right.
I don't get tough guy. And Joe Kelly's that's just punk vibes. I don't think he's tough. Yes. He's the complete opposite of Ruiz. He's the guy that, yep. And you're like, that guy's not going to do shit. He's just talking to try to like, it's like a peacock that like ruffles their feathers for intimidation.
He's as loud as a motorbike, but wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. That's what I'm thinking.
Exactly. And he went down like 10 notches on my especially tough guy rankings because I read a review of his new book, and they said whole second half of the book is him crying about the Astros. Dude, that's bitch assness.
That is.
Your bitch assness is showing. And
that is.
Us being Southside, like that's you're being a bitch about you.
That's weak. Quit crying.
That's bad. And then who's the last tough guy?
Aaron Bummer's the last guy.
Aaron Bummer gives off the dad that needs to work the grill, but he screams at his kids the whole time vibes. Like that old Will Ferrell skit where he's like, Timmy, get off the shed, Timmy. Get off the fucking shed. Yeah, he gives me hard suburban. And now that I am a suburban dad for a couple years now, he gives me that like borderline psychotic suburban dad vibes. Not tough guy though. Like he won a fight one time in college and thought he was tough the rest of his life.
But obviously not true. Shane Spagnola says, I always have people get that vibe about me that they don't want to fuck with me. Yes, that's correct. I do have that vibe about you, Shane. No offense. Next group is the nerd vibes. I get nerd vibes off these guys, and they are Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease, Jake Berger, and Sebi Zavala. I'm
going to go in reverse order. Sebi Zavala should be on the tough guy vibes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Sebi Zavala is a fucking bulldog. That's the vibe I get. He get straight bulldog vibe. Little dude, stocky, kind of quiet, but he's like Ruiz. He's that guy that I think if he needs to, he'll rip out someone's larynx or some shit. Like, Sebi, I think Sebi's a monster. I mean, he had 3 home runs in a game, and he was just like, "Yes, what I do." Like,
it wasn't no thing. Yeah, exactly. He just took it in stride. Absolutely.
I think Sebi also gives off strong Riz Lord vibes.
Okay, all right, okay, all right.
Yeah, because
he's the real Riz Lord, not me. I got to remove that from my title for the One Way podcast.
I think it's a quiet thing too with him, and again, that 3 home run game will never leave my mind. The fact that they like panned to him and he was just like, "What?" And I was like, "You're a backup AAA catcher. You just hit 3 nukes in a major league game." He's just like, "Yeah, what up, what up?" And
man, we were going ballistic in the crowd when he hit that 3rd home run.
That is the definition, and ladies in the comments, please back me up. That is BDE. That is big dick energy across the board. Like, I just hit 3 home runs. Let's go get a beer. Like, it's like, fuck it. But, yeah, Sevi and Kelly, I think, would be a good swap. And then the other 3 on those lists, it's tough to argue. I mean, Giolito, we all know he's a nerd. And unfortunately, he spends time doing stupid shit like saving the planet instead of pitching every day.
That's right.
And then Dylan Cease is a self-proclaimed massive nerd. He was playing some weird computer game on his Instagram the other day. He frothed. Sorry, Luke, that's nerd shit.
That is nerd shit. Froth is nerdy stuff. Yeah.
I've been so high that my favorite color was elephant, and that was the only time that froth was fun. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm sorry. Different strokes, different folks. Luke. I know. I see you in the comments, buddy. I know that's your jam, and apparently it's Dylan's. Like, Dylan loves that shit. I got buddies that do it. There's not enough Busch Light in the world, and I don't really smoke like that anymore. And
there you go. A few team disc golf. All right, take it easy.
I walked it back as much as I could, Luke. I'm sorry. And then, what was the third nerd on that list?
Oh, that was Jake Berger.
Jake Berger. I like Jake Berger. Jake Berger is like a good guy vibes. He's like a good buddy. You know, like the new spring training hats came out today, and they had the mesh back, and someone tweeted out like Jake Berger's gonna be pissed because he got that sunburn. And he tweeted it right away, and he's like, "Oh God damn it!" Like he's just a funny guy. I feel like you know about my 30 rack scale. So for those new that don't watch my show, one, fuck you, and two, I judge people on a 30 rack scale.
Yep.
Like, could I sit down with this guy and drink a 30 rack of Busch Light with him, play some music, and have a great time? A lot of laughs. Used to do it with people all the time in college. It's a great way to meet friends and get short-term alcohol poisoning. But Jake Berger rates very high on the 30 rack scale. So I give Jake Berger very good vibes.
Yeah, I mean, Berger for me, the nerdiest. You're right. He's what in gambling parlance we'd call a sport, meaning he's willing to mix it up with you. He's willing to cut it up, and I like that about him. But he's also like a gamer, drink a lot of Mountain Dew kind of guy. So he's a huge nerd, in my personal opinion. Before we get to the next group, Nathan Sheba, thank you for the drink. He said, "Whoa, there's not enough Busch Light in the world for frisbee golf." Incredible. Bless you, Nathan. The white wine's going down terrific
smooth.
for both of us
so
tonight.
Smooth. So smooth.
Next up are the cool guy vibes, okay? Cool guy vibes for me are Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, Lurie Garcia, Michael Kopech, and Yasmani Grandal. Zoe, it's all yours.
Michael Kopech definitely gets cool vibes. Michael Kopech gives you like Thor, woodsman, like I'll build you a house real quick with these trees, like. And he went off the grid, you know, he deleted all the social media and stuff. Like, so it's hard to really pick up a vibe for him, but he definitely has cool guy vibes. You know, he was with homegirl for a while. They had a kid and stuff like that. Like now you want to talk about Riz. Mike Kopech, Riz is off the chart.
Oh, and that's why I got him in cool vibe, because you're right. Yeah. He's real, like mild-mannered, soft-spoken generally, and he is always with the hottest women absolutely on earth. And it's just like, dude just exudes the coolness. I mean, obviously he's handsome, but a lot of guys are handsome. He's really out there doing it, is what I'm saying. You know.
Now, Yohan Moncada doesn't really give me cool guy vibes. Yohan Moncada kind of gives me sleazy vibes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All I can picture with Yohan Moncada is like the dudes from Night at the Roxbury in like some club in Northwest Indiana. Like, you know, and he's got like a shiny suit on with like chains, and you know he's got too much of whatever cologne he's wearing, and like. It gives me like a sleazy. I'm not feeling Yohan Moncada as a cool guy.
Okay, all right. I mean, I thought the guy's out there singing. He's got a music video. That's cool shit, cool, generally.
Cool. It's just this image in my head of him in Northwest Indiana, like hitting on farmers' daughters and shit. And it's just, and I could just picture the whole thing, and it's bad. And then
you want to put the graphic on that list? There you go.
Luis Robert. Now, if this was a month ago, without a doubt, Luis Robert. And then that boxing video.
The boxing. I was watching you guys live stream when you guys are rewatching the video, and you're like, "I'll get a 7th grader from down the block to kick his ass while he's boxing."
And I get it.
I was dying.
It wasn't like he was like fighting the guy. Like they weren't like sparring.
It was an exercise.
It was a cardio exercise. But the oversized pink gloves, the like coming over the top, like he was like, and it was just.
Maybe it's something you don't film. Maybe you don't film that exercise right there and let it be out there for everybody, you know?
Yeah, don't post it. That's a save and drafts type situation. And anybody that's on any kind of social media in here, you all have the save and draft for it. But long story short, he's like a nerdy cool guy. He's like that guy that hangs out with the jocks, but he's still kind of nerdy, but he's like freakishly athletic. You know the type. Yeah.
Yes, I do know that type. Yeah, absolutely. So, I knew guys like that actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we all, especially in the Catholic Metro League.
Catholic schools, we always had guys on the team that like that, and it's like there's a star athlete and there's a huge nerd. It's like you know that about.
So Lurie I think Lurie's his own vibe, dude. Lurie is just Lurie. Like you either love him or you hate him, and he's here and he's like he won't go away. He's cool though. Lurie is cool. He's got the big boombox. Like Lurie's cool. I got no problem with Lurie.
Now Lurie, the reason why he hit there for me, like I always think Lurie's cool in general. But Treasy went to the sneaker ball, Tim Anderson sneaker ball. He went to that thing. And he said that every Latino player went up to pay the respects to Lurie at the thing. Like,
So
he held
God's on
court.
side.
He was holding, yeah, exactly. Like, he's the man. Like, in those circles, he's the fucking man. So you realize kind of why he has the cachet, even if he performs poorly. It's like these guys got a lot of respect for him for whatever reason. So that's why I had him there. And I think we touched on the last guy. Oh no, we didn't touch on
Yasmani Grandal. So Yasmani Grandal does not give me cool vibes whatsoever.
Okay.
So have you ever seen Yasmani Grandal's like clothing line?
No.
There's like one or two really cool shirts, and then the rest of them look like Tap Out and Affliction shirts. So he gives me those vibes. Like,
Okay,
that's a whole, we could do 40 minutes on what that means. But for those of you that know, he gives me Tap Out Affliction vibes. But what the vibe I need from him is minor setback for a major comeback vibes. I need Yaz to go ballistic this year.
You and me both.
Yeah. So that is the overall vibe of this team right now is worrisome. The aura,
yeah, we got to change that energy a little bit. A couple comments I want to pop up. Baloney says regarding Robert, his team should have never released that video. Fire everyone. Mm-hmm. And then Jackie says, I think Robert is just considered cool because he's hot, but there's a difference. You know what? That is leaking in there on me, Jackie, because he is an extremely handsome guy.
Yep.
And I think he carries himself like he's cool. But I think Zoe is right that he's kind of nerdy. He's kind of a nerdy dude who just happens to have he happens to have an 8-pack. And he's an extremely good athlete. But, yeah, I think I was fooled there. I think you're right. So, last group is my guys who have elite vibes. I think you'll agree with at least one of them, but I'm interested to hear what you think of the entire group. And this group is Lance Lynn, Liam Hendricks, Tim Anderson, and Eloy Jimenez.
So, you can't really argue with anything. First one, TA. TA always has immaculate vibes. The guy you can't phase him. I mean, we're seeing the shit that's unfolding on social media and all this stuff. Like, he's still smiling, doing his thing. Like, that to me is immaculate vibes. Now, what he does on the off the field, I might not agree with all of that, but part of this business, which we're about to get into, is separating the player from the person.
That's right.
And TA is immaculate vibes. Now, Eloy is the definition of elite vibes. Like,
the
man runs into a wall a million miles an hour and gets up and starts smiling. We all hate it. We all hate it, but he's always happy. The high mom stuff, the vibes are always immaculate with him.
You're right. And at the ballpark, we were talking about this, like the whole topic of him moving over to right field. Everyone's poo-pooing immediately, and I understand all the reasons why. But as someone who sits in the right field corner, when we would watch him across the field, he's pumping up left field in between innings, and he's engaging. It's like, I want that, and I'll take the risk of him ripping his titty off right by the foul pole there, just in case, because I need Eloy in my life. He might be close enough for me to hug him,
He kind of this team goes into some pretty dark lulls, especially with some of the questionable moves they make. And then White Sox PR staff is not dumb. They're like, oh, shit, everyone's pissed. Let's do an interview with Eloy and put that on Twitter. Like, we need to get that video up. Because it's
exactly.
Liam's elite vibes. I mean, the man's going through what he's going through, and he's still doing charity work. He's still happy. He's still picking up his teammates. That, to me, is top tier. And now that brings me to the last guy, Lance Lynn.
Yes.
We talked about the 30-rack scale earlier.
Yeah.
Lance Lynn is the crown jewel of the 30-rack scale. No one will ever test higher than Lance Lynn. I would risk getting my stomach pumped to sit down with Lance Lynn and just pound beers, because he's just cool, man. He takes care of his business on the field. He tells it like it is. He's a good dad, loyal, whatever. But like Lance Lynn, no, like Jackie said in the comments there, no notes on that list. You nailed that tier.
That's my list. And now, normally I shouldn't say this because we're about to talk about making content, and I am just not a fan of player interviews. In fact, there's probably only a handful of players I would even consider having on the 108 podcast. Not that anyone would be interested in joining us. But like these four guys, Lynn, Hendricks, Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, those are the guys I'd be interested in having dinner with or having drinks with.
Yep.
Out of this team, I'm generally not interested in mingling. To me, they're the entertainment. I'm just paying for my movie ticket, and I go watch the game. That's kind of how I think about it. Yep. So, Zoe, thank you for the feedback. I'll make sure to consult you first next time before I get out there and I start, because the commenters were a little rough on me on some of these seconds. At least I got the elite vibes correct, but the rest of them not so much.
Iron sharpens iron, bud. We got to look out for each other.
That's right. Absolutely correct. All right. Now, I think this is what you and I have been waiting for. I think the audience has been waiting for this. So wanted to get, down the road a little bit here. We're going to talk about content creation, being in the podcast and blog game. Now, this is something that I did want to talk about on this show, and I actually have a list of people, you being one of them, who could come on here and do this. The fact that you suggested it before I could get it out of my mouth is pretty impressive that we're kind of on the same wavelength here to put this out there. Now, right out of the gate, Zoe, you've been doing this for over a decade. How did you get into this, and how did you end up finding your path or your station in this content game?
So I've always loved sports, Chicago sports in general. And right out of college, me and my buddies, we had like an email thread, and we would start, someone would send it in the morning, like a stat or a news story or something like that. And then everyone would just keep replying to the email. And then by the end of the day, the thread would be like 200 emails long. And
Right.
we were doing this from our work emails, like a bunch of dummies, you know, like, and then one of my buddies, the guy who's actually the majority owner of Sports Mockery, and for those of you who don't know, I'm one of the owners of Sports Mockery. I don't talk about that a lot, but we can get into why that is. But yeah, I'm one of the owners of Sports Mockery. So my buddy, who is the main owner, he holds the highest share percentage. And yeah, we've gotten to that point where there's share percentages. But he was like, hey guys, I just took this class, coding, whatever. I want to start building websites. He's an IT guy. He's like, if I build a website, will you two, meaning me and the other guy, will you guys start writing for it? And we're like, well, what kind of website are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know. I don't want to do like satire. And this is when like College Humor was really big, and like The Onion was really just starting off, and all this other stuff. And we're like, well, you know, it's annoying that during the day when we're working, I don't have time to go through every article and like every. So what if we created a site where it was almost aggregated, and like it'd be like we scour the internet so people don't have to, you know, for like these sports stories. It's all in one spot. Like, yeah, great, let's go. And the first couple stories, I mean, the first year was just fucking brutal. Like the stories were just horse shit. Like we didn't know what we were gonna be. We didn't know what we wanted to do. But then we started putting out ads like, hey, do you want to write about this? And one of our biggest things from the get-go, and it's still this way too, so if you're listening, you want to get paid to write for sports, holler. But we always wanted to compensate our writers, because one of the horror stories you hear from some of these sites is these guys put out all this content, and and they don't get compensated for it. That was one thing we vowed we would never do. Like, I mean, we all had good jobs. We just wanted to do it just to do it. We weren't really in it for money to begin with. And then people started liking our shit, and like people were sharing stories, and it blew up on Facebook before Twitter, and like it kind of got legs, and we're like, all right. And then some of the writers came on, and you know, a lot of people have come and gone from that site. There's people that are in Chicago media now and White Sox Twitter that you might not know once wrote for Sports Mockery. One of my favorite ones, Danny Cheska, or I'm sorry, what does he go by on?
Tony the Mimbo. Yeah,
Tony
and when you telling me after I'd interacted with this guy for years, like, he used to write for us. I was like, what? What the fuck?
Tony Mimbo was great, man. One of the biggest stories he did was he broke the Jared Allen to the Bears trade. That's how long I've been in doing this shit.
Okay. Damn. Yeah, I mean, he's a hilarious guy. I mean, like, it makes sense that he would do it, you know?
And he was from the neighborhood, too, from Mount Greenwood. So, like, we knew him because the two other guys that run Sports Mockery with me, they're both from Mount Greenwood. I'm from Beverly.
Okay.
And so, flash forward, it's very hard to get writers in this business because, one, you're going to get 1 million people that come to your door and say, yeah, I want to write about the White Sox, or yeah, I want to write about this. And then you show them the level of commitment that it warrants. Yeah. And also you try to tell them as much as you can, don't read the comments. New writers always read the fucking comments, and it always goes. But the biggest thing is
gets in here on them. That's a problem.
Because we tell them, you know, now we're like, we need you to write this many stories a month. Oh yeah, I got that. No problem. I'm talking about the White Sox. I can do that shit in my sleep. And then the end of the month's coming, you're like, bro, you wrote 2 stories. Like, you want to do this or not? Oh, well, I got school, and I got my dog's got a fucking leak in his eye, and I got to do it. It's like, you don't have to do all that, man. Just say, I'm not going to do it, and we go our separate ways. But we were really lucky to land some big writers that have been really good for us. I know everyone loves to hate him, but Eric Lambert, the Bears writer, the man is the definition of a content machine. I know how much Eric makes from Sports Mockery, and let me tell you, kids at McDonald's would kill to make what Eric makes writing about the Bears.
Just writing about Bears, yeah.
But so that's how that went. There was some podcasts that came and went along the way, and you know, that's more where I wanted to focus in on. So I kind of stepped away from writing a little bit, and I just been focusing on the podcast, and I help the guys with the Bears podcast. But tell you, man, in all the years I've done it, I've seen so many things, I've learned so many things, and we always joke that one day we're going to write a book because of all the shit we've, from dealing with athletes directly, we've been sued like 15 times,
Jeez.
like all this shit. Like, I've made some great friends through the process. I've made some enemies through the process, and I'm a pretty nice guy. That's just who I am. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute, because that's my biggest advice to people. But one thing that I also do, because I am from the South Side of Chicago, I don't forget shit. And there's some people in this world that we live in, the broadcast Twitter world, where the kids like to say the words on site. I got 2 guys that because of this blogging thing, that there will be no pleasantries. And we'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to do all that, but they know who they are.
When you're dealing in business, things can happen. Fallouts can happen. And especially like, I don't have the experience that you have. And also, I generally just work with my brother, who I've known my entire life. Mm-hmm. And then my Sox Summer, who I've been friends with for, let's say a decade plus. And these are like my best friends. Like, there is very little concern from any perspective in which we're going to end up hating each other because of something that we're doing here. It's very unlikely for us, but it's just that it's also a very small group.
Yes, it's extremely small, but that probably one of my first bits of advice is what you just said. Your core needs to be people you can 1,000,000%, not 100%, like 1,000,000,000% trust. So the 2 guys I run Sports Mockery with, we've known each other since 7th grade. Okay, so we've known each other, and we don't agree on everything. That's one of the reasons why I've kind of strayed away from the writing. Like, we just don't agree on everything. That's going to happen in business. But at the end of the day, we'll always be buddies. We'll always have beers. Our kids play with each other, like all that shit. Like that's a very, very, that's lesson number 1 when it comes, if you want to get into this game, is if you're going to start something from scratch, you need someone that you can trust with all your everything. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, you said you steer away from the writing, more towards the podcast. So why did you steer that way? And then kind of what gets you going to want to do podcasting? Because full disclosure here, when we started the 108, we started it. Our first blog post is probably March 2nd of 2016. It's probably almost 7 years old now. Mm-hmm. And we were never going to do a podcast. We had the Sunday Soak, which was a video, but we were not ever planning to do a podcast. And then shit happened. People pushed us a little bit, said you guys would probably be good at this, whatever. And we ended up doing it. How did you end up like that was your focus kind of?
I mean, for me, it's pretty easy. I talk way better than I write. I'm an editor's nightmare. My punctuation, my spelling. You guys see me try to pronounce names. Now picture that, but me fucking trying to spell it. Yeah, it's just terrible. And work got in the way a little bit too. I couldn't write as much as I needed to, and then plus we were fortunate enough to add some guys that were actually good at writing. So I was like, you know what, that's covered. I really like talking. I love doing the podcast. I love interacting with the comment section. I love being out there. I'm going to kind of just let me switch to that. And that's how the first show that's, RIP and P came to be. Everybody, the glorious days of the 312. But that was, and once that got going, I'm like, this is way more fun than writing for me. Now there's some guys.
It's way more enjoyable, right?
There's way more fun. But there's some guys that, you put them on camera, it's dead issue. They freeze up. They're not themselves. They can't be themselves. I'm the opposite. When I write, I feel like I got to be proper. I need to put in parentheses and commas and all this shit, and I need all my stats. But when I'm just on here, just shooting the shit, I just say whatever the fuck comes to my mind.
It flows. It just flows.
It flows way better. People can watch the recording. And then the other big thing was when I started, the live video streams were really starting to
take off. That was starting to become the brand new thing.
And then it was like, okay, well, this was a pretty good revenue stream. We could sell ads for this. We can do things with that. And it was like, well, the stars kind of lined up and we got into it. So, but it's wild now just watching all these shows pop up, disappear, come back. And then it's funny to see what the mainstays are. And if you look at all the main stage shows, the ones that have been here for a year or two more,
Yeah.
there's common themes amongst all of them. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's one of the things that we can get to. This is hey buddy.
Let's go, baby. I want to hear what I'm here to listen to you, Matt. I listened to you at Tefano's 4 years ago when I'm like, I need advice on these various things. And it's funny you mentioned the one piece of advice you gave me right out of the fucking gate, and it was you just said it's hard to find people to write for you because I told you at the time, and it's still this is no secret. Mm-hmm. From the 108 has a blog, and we blog stuff. Materially, I write all the White Sox stuff. Okay, now. We don't do anything that's like what you would call news per se.
Right.
We're not regurgitating news outlets. We're not regurgitating whatever James Spiegel reported. We do that. We don't. I mean, it's just not for us. It's not what we do. I generally try to do analysis when I'm doing it, or something interesting that we find there. But we just don't have enough volume on the blog. I told you at the time, I'm like, man, I need another person to write Sox. And you're like, it's great when you can find that person, but it's extremely difficult. And sure enough, we went out there. We got ourselves an intern. That backfired like a motherfucker, and in the back of my head, I was thinking, Zoe told me, he told me it doesn't always work out, you know?
No, that's being the owner of the blog, if you will. Oh,
yeah. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate the drink.
Being the owner of the blog, that's by far the hardest thing, is finding good people to write for you. Because again, it's the commitment, the quality, and I do. Like when you and like Josh, when you guys write, when you read it, it comes off the page that you put time into this shit and you put analysis into that shit. You're not doing what we do in Sports Mockery or at Barstool and taking a bit of news, reporting that, and then putting your spin on it too.
Making it funny.
Like,
right. I mean,
make it interesting or whatever. And like, so that, and that's definitely the hardest part about owning the blog. But now when it comes to podcasts, I have a couple pet peeves that people do, and I watch. You'd be surprised. I'm a big music guy, and I got my Spotify year-end rap, and I was like, this is pathetic because I barely listen to any music because all I did was listen to all you assholes talk, and it was.
Oh, lay it on me. And if you have something critical about 108, please give it to me. I would love to hear it. This is where I think we differentiate ourselves out there. I want to know if I'm doing something that's no good. So lay it on me, baby.
But I guess these are my like biggest pet peeves, if you will, like when it comes to this stuff. One, you can't fake the funk, man. You can't do it. You can't have two personalities. There's been a number of times where I'll watch someone's show or whatever, and I'll run into them in a bar or a 108 day or some kind of event, and they're just a completely different person. And you're like, what the fuck?
Who's
like this? And sometimes there's alcohol involved. I get that. Or you'll see them at a Sox game and they're dead so, and you're like, this isn't the fucking guy from the show. Like, who is this guy? And like, that drives me crazy because one of the best compliments I've ever gotten from people that watch the show is when I meet them in person. They're like, oh, you're just like you are on the show. Well, yeah, dude. I'm not going to ham this up just to
say no act. This is the way it is.
This is who I am, and it's kind of like you can take it or leave it,
Yeah.
But you can't fake the funk. People smell that out so quick, and that's one of the biggest things that kills shows. Now, and that kind of brings me to the second thing. And it's funny because me and My Sox Summer actually talked about this yesterday. You can't take yourself too seriously.
Oh, no, absolutely
You cannot take yourself too seriously. One, hi, welcome to the internet. It'll eat you the fuck alive. Like you can't take yourself too seriously. There's going to be haters. There's going to be people that comment. If you're a new writer, my biggest advice is don't read the comments on the first 10 things you put out there.
Yeah.
Because the comments suck. Have a trusted circle of friends like Beef, all the 108 guys for me, actually. I've gone to all of you before, like Sox in the Basement. Chris is fucking phenomenal to go for feedback.
He is. Yep.
Josh, all those guys that have been doing it for a while at a successful level, go to them. Do not go to your comments because your comments are going to be like, this guy sounds nasally. It's like, what the fuck the hell I thought?
What does that have to do with anything?
But you can't take yourself too seriously. And there's guys you can tell when they do the show, and the White Sox are betting 281. And when they come out and you're just like, no one wants to hear that shit, bro. You're not Walter Cronkite. Stop.
Right, exactly.
Just
be yourself. I mean, that's one of the pieces of advice Sam Panianovich gave us early on. Is just be yourselves. Just find your own voice. And when you start, you'll be imitating someone else. But try to drop that as soon as possible and just be what you are. Just be that person.
You got to find your flow, man, because that's what brings me to the next point. Look at us killing these segues. Brings me, like we've done this shit before.
That's
the next point. you got to find your lane, man. You got to find your lane. You guys have the great thing with the whole 108 drunk uncles of White Sox Twitter. You guys market that. You grab shit. It's beautiful. You guys kill it with that. And then Josh with Sox Machine is like the OOG. Like Sox Machine's been around forever. Yeah. He was doing the message boards, and me and him actually had a talk. Like I used to be on those message boards. I remember Josh on those message boards, and that's back when I lived in Bridgeport. Like I think we met at like a meetup. I don't know. Anyways, but like. You got to find your niche. Like Sox Machine's a little bit more analytical. They don't try to
a lot more
compared to me and you. But they don't. You never watch Sox Machine and they're like making dick and fart jokes or like know what I mean. Like they know their lane.
That's what they do, right? They do something, and then I have the fart thing that I use it right here. Like I've got that handy, like right by the desk if I need to use it.
And then there's like like Chris, like we mentioned, Sox in the Basement. First of all, sidebar, no one sells ad space or understands the business side of this better than Chris.
Agreed.
If you need to go, when he was on the 108 and he was talking a couple weeks ago and he was talking about how he started that Spotify series of like how to do the business of podcasting.
Yeah.
I stopped listening to your podcast at that minute and went over to his shit and subscribed right away. I'm sorry.
Full disclosure. Full disclosure. I've listened to it too. I've listened through all the episodes. I binged them in one day. I was like, I'm signing up for this, and I'm gonna binge the whole goddamn thing.
If you don't if you want to do this and you're serious about this and you don't pay to listen to those episodes, quit.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. I totally agree.
That should be your new like. What do the kids like to call it? Manifestation. Like you need to listen to that shit over and over and over because no one is better than Chris at this.
Yeah, burn it into your head for sure.
Yeah, I mean Chris will have a fucking waterproofing ad one week and then the next week he's got like the Village of Evergreen Park, whatever, and you're like, how do you even make that connection to get them to sponsor your show? And Chris, man's a legend for that.
And he covers almost everything too in the series. He talks about sound. He talks about he talks about podcast length, which is something he yelled at us for the very first time we went down to the 9-foot oak basement. He's like, boys, you can't do a 3-hour podcast. And he's right. But let me tell you, though, we did learn a lot from doing that much because we came to the game later than all you guys. Mm-hmm. And we have no training. And so we needed our flight miles. And so although it was bad probably for listener retention, although we had a lot of listeners right out of the gate because we were idiots and people know who we are. But like it helped us. We got better. And now that we've trimmed back down, we're starting to reap the benefits 4 years in of doing this shit.
And I agree, because especially in 2023, like we all have ADD at some level, right? Every person does. TV has done this to us. Whatever's done this to us. People bitch about a baseball game being too long now, which is wild to me. Because you can sit there and drink and eat and talk and whatever. But 3 hours is a lot to ingest. It really is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You guys have realized it. I try to cap. We've actually gone the other way. We used to be a hard hour on Pinwheels. I would cut Fids off. I'd cut everybody off.
Yeah.
We are an hour show. And now it's like, we're at the 2.5 hour mark and we're still going. And it's just like.
We try to, when it's just us three, 90 minutes or less.
Yeah.
If we have guests, that we kind of let it roll because if the guests like when we just had Lanuti and Ed on, the conversation was really good. Yep. We don't want to stop it. We're just going to look, we have the ability to go long form. We'll do it if we need to do it, but a lot of times we kind of want to trim it down a little bit. And even this show, this show is aimed to be a half hour to an hour to scoop out a little bit, of the baseball talk. Let's get to this drink right now. Yump, he says, shout out to St. Rita. Wow, that's there it is.
That's a good Rita man right there.
I'm a rival, so that's
I fucking love Yump, but
he's the best.
He really is just an all-star guy. That's immaculate vibes definition. But the other thing, if you're trying to get out going on your podcast, you're going to be real tempted to watch shows like 108, Pinwheels, Sox Machine, Sox in the Basement, Sox whatever, Sox over your face, whatever. But and you're going to try to do what they do, and you're going to be clever in your head and be like, I'm going to put my spin on it. Everyone knows what you're doing, dude. You're copying. You're copying it. You got to do your own thing, man. That's content. Podcast wise, if you're making small videos, if you're just pumping up your own personal brand, if you're writing blogs, if you copy in the slightest bit something from a major show, and I consider the ones I just talked about the majors because I know the volume of views they get. People are going to see right through it. Just like Faking the Funk, man.
Oh,
People
no.
are going to be like, didn't the 108 guys do this 2 weeks ago? Everything is way too transparent these days. This isn't like if you
it's
miss
out
your
there.
show on Channel 7, you're fucked. You can't go back and watch it. No,
Yeah.
everything's recorded. Everything is on demand at our fingertips. So you got to be original. It's really, really hard. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt this because Jackie representing the Hills. I'm still a new Hills guy.
Cheers, Jackie. Thank you.
Hey, you had back-to-back Hills on here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
But you gotta try to be original, and and when I say original, like we were the first Cubs White Sox show, and the reason why we did that was because I saw Sox Machine, and at the time some of these other Sox podcasts, I'm like, and all those the homie. Well, true.
Keep it up, Fitz. Keep it up.
But Aldo's been the homie forever. I've known Aldo for 10-some years now. Like, Aldo's my guy. I love that kid. I'll go to fucking war for him. Fidge, you're all right. And we were talking, and I was like, we got to do something different. We can't just be White Sox. Like, you're a Cubs fan, I'm a Sox fan. What if we did like a split show? And, that way we can maybe draw in from both pools. Like, let's give it a go. And we gave it a go, and people kind of liked it. And I liked it because we were different. Now, when I say you got to be your own stuff, I'm not saying like don't do a White Sox podcast just because there's White Sox podcasts already there. You can do that,
right?
But like have your own. Like, don't be the drunk cousins. You know what I mean? Like, I see too much of this shit.
Yeah.
It's not cute. You're not a spinoff. People are gonna see right through that. Like,
just be what you are. Just stick with what you are.
That's the hardest part, though. That is the hardest part for people, is because people are scared to put their real self out there. Like, there's that new up and coming one, the one that just started, Ass.
Yes, yeah.
They're fucking hilarious. I love that shit. Because they don't give a fuck. They're just who they are. And it's some of the shit is stupid, and I'll read it and I'll just be like, okay. But some of the shit is fucking golden. It cracks me the hell up. And I'm like, and it's because
that's doing content. It won't all work 100% of the time. You got to take some risks.
If you show me one platform that bats 1,000 on content, and I'll call you a fucking liar. Barstool puts out duds daily. You know what I mean? Like
100%. Yeah.
Barstool's a great example of volume, and I know people are going to hear Barstool and
but you got a good lesson in here because
they're volume, and they'll put out 150 stories a day because they got that kind of writing juice, and out of those 150, maybe 5 catch fire, and they're okay with that because those 5, they're going to make a ton of money off the ad revenue from those 5, and it's just you got to see it for it's a bigger game than what people see. It really is. Like, there's a lot of intricate parts to this. It's a lot harder than you think it's going to be. You're not just going to flip on your laptop and be like, oh, this is going to be great. There's prep, there's equipment, you have to, and then that's one other thing that I put in the notes when we were talking about what we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
You don't have to fucking hate everybody. This isn't like one huge competition. Like if it was, me and you would never get it because we basically do the same fucking show, except we do the Cubs and you do it on Thursday night. Like, you know what I mean? We all sit here and get drunk and talk shit.
It's a similar concept, right? It is. Now, our show, we structure some of the bits so that they eliminate on purpose. They eliminate discrete analysis. Like, we have a bit called the horny meter, right? Mm-hmm. It's how horny you are for the player, and you give all these descriptions. But when you're doing that, you're also analyzing the player. We try to add in that element of like ridiculousness to take your mind off of you're hearing some analysis right here. You're hearing this is how the player works. We work hard to try to do that, to try to strip that away.
And it's gold. And we could do an hour. If I can literally cover an hour show of just sitting here naming names of segments we've done on Pinwheels that didn't work.
That didn't work, exactly.
I could do it for an hour. Yes. Easy hour.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the biggest thing I'm talking about, though, like, it's not a big like arena where it's like Gladiator, where you got to like kill each other just for the guidance of being the top podcast. It's like, it's more of a community.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once you can get in with that community, like you got the sports bums, you got it, 108, Pinwheels, Sox, all these guys, like, we all meet each other out and we're drinking. We're having a great fucking time. We're not sitting there being like, look at this chump. No, it's like,
exactly.
Now, don't get me wrong, though. There are shows that come out where you're like, guys, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is unbelievable. Like, you you're faking it. 2, you're a blatant ripoff, and 3, you got to find a different lane. You're not interesting. Like it's just you're not, and some people take that to offense and they want to get mad, and then the subtweets happen and people talk shit and all this shit. Why do you do that?
Just focus on getting better. Don't worry about like that's.
And I mean, I know real quick that my thoughts on subtweets. I think subtweets is the biggest bitch ass move a human being can do in 2023. If you got something to say to me, say it to me. We'll talk it out.
Just tell me.
It's good. Well, whatever. You could say your show sucks. I'll be like, cool, watch 108. But
Nathan, thank you for the drink. He says, here's to 2 of the nice guys that make digital Sox fandom fun. God bless, gents. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome, Nate.
No, I agree with you say, Zoe, about we get along as a community. We do the Twitter spaces all together, basically, when Josh puts them together. But there also is sort of I'll call it a friendly rivalry in a way. And I'll explain what I mean. And this is how we get going in 108. Mm-hmm. If one of us has a really good blog or a really good segment or whatever, of course, we're happy for the other one. But then it's like, I got to lift my game up. So I'm on par with them. And so like when I watch you guys, like I brought up a segment earlier that had me cracking up. Or the other day, you mentioned something that was like, fuck, that I wanted to do a blog about that. You mentioned you were tired of the White Sox bringing in all these low-level second basemen. It shows they don't have confidence in Romy. I'm like, shit, that's a great idea. Like that, yes. Like, and so you watch the other shows and listen to the other shows, and you're like, oh man, they really did that thing well. We got to up our game so we stay on par with those guys.
And that's, to me, that's more iron sharpens iron. Like that's two of the same, a player on the same team. Like that's like if we were on the same softball team and you went 2 for 3 and hit 2 home runs, and the next game I'd be like, all right, well, fuck it, I got to go do that now. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But then you get these podcasters out there that they're either, hate us because they ain't us, or they just, I don't know what they're doing, but they feel the need to subtweet and talk shit and like do all this stuff. And the worst thing you could do, even worse than subtweeting, is talk shit about me on your show that I don't watch.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Like, hey Zoe, did you see this guy said this about you? I was like, no, because I don't watch that shit. And I just told you I watch 8 hours of podcast a day, but if I don't watch your shit, but it's more of a community, and we all get better because of it. Like we have that group chat or the group DM on Twitter of like a lot of, I almost call it like the table, like we all sit there and whatever, and like there's guys that get bad reps, and there are guys that do, like it's a bit on Twitter, but then you meet them in real life, and it ain't how like.
That's not how they really are, right?
White Sox Dave is like one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Yes, 100%.
Especially 108 day, I've always talked to him. I've always whatever, and like. Yeah, and then he gets online, and I see his shit with the Yankee fan, and whatever. Dave's killing it. I'm not going to knock what he does.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. That's one of the things that really gets under my skin is when people do that whole little high school caddy bullshit. Like, I'm fucking almost 40, dude. If you think I suck, just tell me I suck. I don't really
just bomb me. Just hit me over the head out there.
Just come at me, bro.
This drink from Baloney says, this is a paid subtweet for MSS. Call me out on my fake verified check mark. Believe me, I hate it too. We should get into this really quickly. Thanks for the drink, Baloney. Because he gave you some shit, Zoe, about the bought check mark. Now, full disclosure, I have no problem if people want to buy check marks or don't want to buy check marks, and I don't think it's a symbol of anything personally. But there's a lot of drama around it, seemingly. So you bought a check mark, and MSS is giving you shit.
Yep.
Go ahead. Feel free to defend yourself, my friend.
Well, it's fine, because first things first, what people don't know is my Sox Summer is my deadbeat father.
Yes.
He went out for a pack of cigarettes 38 years ago. Fucker. And whatever. I'm better off for it. But one, I don't pay for the check mark. Sports Mockery pays for the check mark. Yeah. But two, I understand the stigma that comes with it, But me personally, I'm like, woo, look at me flexing my $11 a month. My fault. Sorry that you're broke, bro. But it's like going out for a cup of coffee twice a month or something. Like it looked like. If something's valuable to someone, let them pay for it, Yep. There's newsletters that I pay for. I pay for StatHead at Baseball Reference. It's $80 a year. Yep. The reason why I pay for it is I like to get those numbers and cut them up and do my analysis. It's an awesome email too. I love
if you're exactly. If you're into the shit, get into your shit, whatever you are.
Yep. And then there's another thing about it that I've noticed that I didn't even think about when we pay for it, because we initially pay because it looks good. Let's not lie. It looks good when you're putting
Yeah,
shit out
for sure.
and you're trying to build your own shit. But the other things, though, I've noticed that other verified bigger accounts,
Yeah.
I don't know if they see my tweets now or what, but like Rex Chapman is fucking replying to my tweets now. And like Josiah, the fucking NBA meme lord, just followed me the other day. And like these random players are following my shit now. And like I can
Yeah.
DM a player's agent or a player's representation now, and they actually get that DM because I'm verified, and you can do verified.
Yeah.
There's a reason to do it besides just
Yeah.
rubbing in my Sock Summer's face that he doesn't have $11 a month.
Of course. Of course.
There's other
Which is also a good reason.
yeah,
That's a good reason.
Very good reason. But there's reasons for guys in my position. Now, if I was just like a Joe Schmo, whatever, and I was paying the 11 foot, I would question why I was doing that. Like I would have
Yes.
been like, what's going on? And that would be a little weird, but it's opened some doors for me that I'm seeing. I'm not saying like this is the magic fucking key,
Right.
but like
You're saying it has its uses, though.
It definitely has its uses,
Yeah.
especially as you're trying to build your own personal brand, which you and I both know is also a big component of this game. And I see
Absolutely.
Missy in the comment section. Missy is a great example. Homegirl's killing it on TikTok, and she brought that
Yes.
energy over to Twitter, and she's creating this following now, but she does that unique content that I think Missy's great. I enjoy her content a lot. I had a great conversation with her at 108 Day that I half remember, and it was at the end of the night. I was a little fucked up, but she does, and I think Missy's a prime example of the right way to go about doing shit in this new whatever. Now I'm trying to figure out TikTok still. I'm showing my age a little bit when I
we're working on YouTube Shorts, which is a similar concept because we're already built in there at YouTube, and we have 1,000 followers. We can get the super chats and all that stuff. We're like, let's keep everything here, but same idea. So we're trying to figure that out, and we're sometimes you get a good one, a lot of times you don't get a good one.
It's just I'll make a TikTok and I'm like, bro, you're almost 40. Just, what are you doing? Fucking delete that shit. Like it's like
you gotta keep
what Gossip Girl character are you or some shit? And I'm like, and like it's just like, yeah, but all right, man. I know you keep these at an hour, so
actually we got one more topic that we should stay with, so we might go a little bit over here. It's the last thing in here we had was just discussion on creating content on the it's kind of the art of making content or making your podcast. You had mentioned a little bit earlier about not copying someone else and kind of trying to find your voice. What else? Lay some other things on me. What else when it comes to making your own podcast or making your own even blogging?
Yeah, it's easily the hardest thing, and for a lot of the reasons that we've already mentioned, but there's sometimes where you run into situations like you said, like I'll talk about the million second basements the Sox have, and you're like, fuck, I was just about to write about that. Yes. Now, there's sometimes though where I'd be like, do it, Beef, because you're going to put your analytical spin on it, and it's going to be completely different than me calling them all assholes.
True.
It's just
it's true.
And that's the thing, though. You just have to try to find. We're all talking about the same thing at the end of the day.
Yep.
It's trying to find that different vantage point that people can relate to, and that they find interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I can go to NBC Sports Chicago. I can go to ESPN if I want straightforward. This is what the White Sox are doing here, But if I want stats with like goofy gifs, pictures, interesting spin, I'll go to you. I'll go to Josh. And like there's just different ways to skin a cat, but it's like you gotta find that though, and you gotta find your own. That's my biggest thing is you gotta find your own, because too many times I'll see you guys do something, and then I'll see another podcast or whatever group do the same thing a couple of weeks later, and I DM you right away every time I do it. I'm like, oh, this looks familiar. Oh shit,
I've seen this before.
Yeah, but it's just without a doubt it's the hardest part of the game, and I don't mean to keep harping on it, but that's where like people like Missy or the people over at Ass or these people that are newer to it, they're doing a really great job of finding their own niche with it right away, and it's like good for you, But the big thing for them is you got to stay there, and you got to build off that. Too many people,
it's a lot of work.
You're going to get nervous. You're going to put out some duds, and you're going to be like, hey, is this really what I want to do? Is this going to work? And you got to stay with it, though. I've been doing this for like I said, over a decade now, and I'm still giving away fucking front row tickets to get people to subscribe to the goddamn YouTube channel because I want to be able to get to the 1,000 sub mark, you know. And it's like,
get the super chats. Huh? That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm doing.
You're right. The grind is real. And like even today, I put out a blog on a potential Dylan Cease extension. It's been a total dud. It's getting like 1/10 of the views I normally get. Sometimes that happens. You're just like, fuck, it didn't work. One piece of advice I would give people who are new to podcasting, and this is something that we did, and I think we still keep this level of, let's say, preparedness, is you gotta, if you don't do this regularly, you've got to prepare a bunch. I would say write out a bunch of notes, write out topics, prepare more than you're actually going to talk, because you're going to need it. Yes. Now, the vets can stand up there and do it. You and I and Josh, we can hop on a Twitter Spaces. We'll have nothing in front of us and do an hour, no problem, about whatever topic the Sox want. But we've been doing it a long time. It takes time. When we first started, we would have pages and pages of notes on the table with us, and we'd be referencing shit and whatever. We weren't on a live stream. You couldn't see us. Even now, I've got Evernote open, and I have notes for the entire show to make sure that I keep straight the things I want to talk about, or if I have something important I need. So prepare. I'm gonna tell on someone, but I'm trying not to tell too overtly. I had a recent guest who I sent the agenda to, and this guest, she prepared tremendously. Now I'm giving her away a little bit. And her episode was fantastic. You know why? She was prepared. She knew what she was going to talk about. She was going to get into it. She told on herself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's good. I would encourage that for anyone who's trying to do a podcast where you're just starting out. Do that, because she was fire on the show. She had everything, boom, 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 and it was moving, right? I was like, I ain't got to do nothing. I'm just going to sit back here. You know, I got no problems here. So definitely prep. Treat it like it's something serious. You know, even if you're going to tell fart jokes on it, still treat it serious.
Comedians write their set list. Exactly. You know, Dave Chappelle doesn't just get on stage and fucking wing it. Like you have to have some preparation. And another up and coming podcast network that I failed to mention, and I'm sorry, Fids, that's a genuine I'm sorry, but the Tainted Glove Network. Those guys are doing great shit over there because they found their lane, but you can always tell those guys are so fucking prepared with this shit. And
listen to Yumper on that podcast, okay? His level of prep is top notch, A+, probably the best 100%. Out of anybody and anyone who's doing a podcast. His level of preparation is tremendous.
I will say though, have that preparation, but I swear to Christ, if I turn on your fucking YouTube channel and I see you reading, I'm turning it off. I'm turning it off right away. If you're sitting there going,
you gotta.
This week we're gonna talk about the White Sox being good at second base because it's just like, no, you're done. Out.
No, that's a great point, Zoe, because we do live streams. So you do them and I do them, right? This is our everyday game. One thing I will tell you guys, okay, and I yell at my Sox Summer for this, on air and off air. If you are so bored with the show that you're looking at your fucking phone for 3 minutes, guess what? The audience is probably that bored too. So you have to come with a level of energy and a level of paying attention on these streams, because you want to be as energetic as you hope the audience is that's ingesting it in the comments. So if you're someone who wants to stream, keep that in mind when you're doing your stream. Pay good attention, even if you don't care. Oftentimes I don't care anything about the fan experience stuff or the giveaway shit. I don't do the giveaways. My Sox Summer's going on. I'm engaged, baby, and I'm ready to jump in if I got a joke opportunity.
That's a bad habit of mine, and especially being a Cub and Sox show. There's sometimes when Aldo and Fids go off on Cubs tangents, where I got to be like, "These are your guys. You got to stay fucking locked in."
Stay with
now,
us.
Right here, there's a screen. I keep Twitter up here because we like to break news. Shit happens, and stuff.
Yep.
And so you'll catch me like glancing over here and like whatever, and but
that's fine.
You'll never see me like this.
I was gonna say, I do it during our show. I'll switch to the YouTube feed so I could type in the chat for people to hit the like button. Yep. I don't do it during this show because I got too much going on when I have the host or whatever. But yeah, a moment of distraction or a moment of I'm pouring my drink, whatever, is fine. 3 minutes of looking down at your phone because you're answering texts, bad look. Don't do it.
It is tough. It is.
Let's get to these drinks. Brian S. says, good stuff, else. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you.
Getting Drafty is a good show, too. Go watch that.
Very good. I was recently on it. We did a Sopranos draft. It's tremendous. Yep. And then Julie says, is there a fart machine on the audio? I did one earlier. I'll do one more for you right now, Julie. There you go. It was a little whistler. I'm sorry it wasn't as loud. But thank you.
Yep. But, no, you got to the ones that separate themselves from the pack are the people that take this seriously. I hate saying the word job because when people, it's got a negative connotation to it, but
right.
It kind of is though. You got to take it seriously. You got to prep. You got to be able to. You got to be out there networking. You got to make contacts. You got to whatever.
Yep.
You got to prep this. And I'm the thing that I am the absolute worst at when it comes to this. And this is why I keep talking about how great Chris is. MSS. My Sox Summer is really good at this too. I suck at selling ads. I fucking suck at it. You would think a lifelong sales guy would be great at it. I fucking suck at it. I never know how much to charge. I don't know what to talk to. I don't know what the going rate is. All this shit. That's why Chris is, again, I can't stress this enough to all the viewers. Go check out Chris's shit. Chris Lunati's shit on the business of podcasting.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It's really good. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, so we ran over the hour, and I'm glad we did. I think we can actually do another one on this at some point. So let's try and do that before the season starts. Let's try to get back together. So thanks so much for bestowing your White Sox thoughts on vibes and coaching me up a little bit. And then also talking about the podcast, blog game. Remember, on this show, we're not trying to be right. We're just trying to understand. Zoe, you got anything to plug before you go?
I do a show on Wednesdays, which I need all of you morons to go and subscribe to the goddamn YouTube channel.
That's
I don't care if you watch it. I honestly do not care. I'm not talking about views or clicks. Just go and click subscribe for me real quick. And then when you go to your family parties, like take people's phones and fucking subscribe. Go to the Apple Store. Spo, I'm looking at you. On all them phones, just start subscribing.
Initially, put the app and subscribe for them already.
No, we do Pinwheels and Ivy every Wednesday night around 8 a.m. 8 a.m. I wish. I'm much more of a morning person. 8 p.m.-ish on Wednesday nights. Check that out. And again, I think we've listed off about 10 other shows during this podcast. Show them all love, because this is a job. People put a lot of hard work into this shit. We don't just fucking flip this on and start talking. Like, I wish it was that easy.
I do. So, yeah, I do too.
Just show some love to your local podcasters. And yeah, that's about it.
Absolutely. Zoe, as always, great talking to you, my friend. Catch you very soon. Can't wait to have you back on.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Bye. That was Matt Zawaski. Normally at this point, I preview next week's guest. Unfortunately, the guest I wanted to get for next week has a conflict, so that guest is going to come on Monday, February 20th. So right now I don't have a guest for Monday, but I'll be working on that during the week, and I'll give you guys an announcement just as soon as that comes out. Just a reminder, go back to FromThe108.com, buy the Wave Sucks zip-up hoodie. It's $45. The pre-sale ends tomorrow morning, I believe. So get your ass in there on that shit. Thanks once and again to Father Zoe, Matt Zawaski, one of my favorites, man. And thanks to all you, the 108 family, everyone who's subscribing, clicking the like button, chatting us up here, super chats. We love all that shit. Thank you.